You looked in your bathroom mirror this morning. You saw nothing unusual, but your skin color is a real surprise. Whatever shade it is, it represents an ancient bet. Your ancestors nearly lost that survival gamble. They did not choose their appearance. They really could not. Something much older than choice made the choice for them. It traded one death for another across vast periods of time. The strangest part of this deep history is simple. The version of the story most people believe is completely backward. For a long time, the old assumption seemed very clear. Your ancestors left their original home. They moved north into colder areas with less sun. Then their skin gradually became lighter to match the new skies. It sounds clean and very logical, but it is entirely wrong. Scientists who study ancient bones discovered something amazing. They extracted old DNA and shattered the familiar story completely. Researchers confirmed that early hunter-gatherers living deep in cold regions still had dark skin. This was long after they had moved away from sunny zones. The old timeline does not fit, so the big question changes now. Moving alone did not change human skin color. Something else triggered the rapid transformation. It happened much later than we thought. It occurred much faster too. The reason involves what your ancestors started eating every day. Here is what your school biology textbook probably skipped completely. Having dark skin was never about looks or beauty. It was not about managing heat either. It was all about protecting a single vital molecule. That critical molecule is called folate, or vitamin B9. It is incredibly important for human life. Without enough folate, a growing baby cannot develop properly. The neural tube fails to close completely. This causes terrible birth defects. Children can be born without a working brain. This medical fact connects human survival directly to the sky. Sun protection was an absolute necessity for our early ancestors. Strong solar radiation destroys folate in human blood very quickly. It can happen within hours of intense exposure. Your ancestors lived near the equator long ago. They did not just experience hot weather. They lived under a dangerous solar index every day. The radiation was strong enough to strip vital nutrients away before sunset. Unprotected bodies could not survive that harsh environment without a natural defense. Dark skin worked by absorbing and scattering that dangerous radiation. It blocked the rays before they could harm the bloodstream. This pigmentation was not just a simple color, it was actual armor built over a vast number of generations. The shield was refined by every parent who survived long enough to have children. If you lost the armor, you lost your vital folate supply. Losing your folate meant losing the next generation. This biological reality still matters today. It is running inside every pregnant woman right now. But here is the big secret that nobody ever talks about. That protective armor changes completely when you travel. It becomes a dangerous weapon pointed directly at you. This happens the moment you leave the sunny equator and move far away. Your ancient ancestors pushed north into cold lands. They did not find safety there. Instead, they walked straight into a different kind of slow death. The solar levels in northern places dropped down to almost nothing during winter. The same dark skin that saved lives near the equator was now a problem. It blocked the weak northern sunlight from deep penetration. The human body needs specific rays to make vitamin D. Without enough sunlight, this deep synthesis stops completely. A severe vitamin D deficiency does not show itself clearly right away. It works very quietly and structurally over many years. Your bones slowly lose their density and strength. Then the female pelvis narrows and deforms over time. This makes survival impossible during childbirth. Scientific reviews of ancient human populations document this exact pressure. Group by group, the people suffered. The ones who could not create enough vitamin D paid a heavy price. They slowly stopped producing healthy, surviving children. There was no big war in the forest. There was no sudden famine either. It was just a quiet mathematical equation running across many human generations. Dark skin requires much more sun exposure than pale skin. It takes roughly 6 times more light to create the same amount of vitamin D. Imagine living in a misty place where the sun stays low. The sun barely rises above the freezing horizon for months. In that dim environment, that biological number becomes a quiet death sentence. It was written directly into human biology. Your ancestors were trapped between 2 terrible choices. They could protect their folate and starve their bones, or they could let the sunlight through and destroy the pregnancy. There was no clean answer to this problem. Human biology does not offer easy solutions. It just keeps counting the casualties. The process continues until something finally changes. This same deep struggle is still running inside you. Every single winter, your internal vitamin D levels drop down low. Every time a doctor hands you a new supplement prescription, look closely. You are reading the very last page of an ancient story. This narrative started tens of thousands of years ago in the wild. But here is the fascinating detail that nobody ever mentions. Your ancestors lived with this genetic trap for ages. They did not lighten up quickly at all. They did not even lighten up gradually over time. They stayed dark for an incredibly long period. And then, in a sudden geological eye blink, everything changed completely. Renowned researchers published an important paper that altered how we view human pigmentation. They identified a single specific gene. This gene is known to scientists as SLC24A5. One tiny variant of this single gene changes everything. It accounts for a massive portion of the skin color difference. It divides Northern Europeans and West Africans clearly. This was not a slow collection of hundreds of small mutations. It was just one gene carrying the largest single effect. It altered a third of the appearance. It was a sudden and powerful shift in human history. Scientists traced the spread of this genetic variant through old populations. The actual timeline was very surprising to them. This specific light skin gene was not present during the first migrations. It was not spreading when humans first walked into Europe. Old DNA pulled from very ancient skeletons proved this fact. People had lived in cold areas for thousands of years without it. The skeletal remains showed that the light skin gene was completely missing. Then, samples from a later period showed the variant everywhere. It was not a slow, gentle gradient across the land. It was a massive genetic sweep. This kind of sudden signature only appears during intense pressure. It happens when a trait means the difference between life and dying before you can reproduce. The new gene swept through northern populations very quickly. It happened long before the Great Pyramids were built. It occurred well before the rise of ancient Rome. Your ancestors had already survived many freezing winters while keeping their dark skin. They lived through the first major cities in ancient lands. They survived for generations. Then something completely collapsed the old natural balance of life. The old equilibrium shattered so completely that one gene changed everything. It rewrote the appearance of an entire continent in a short time. Here is the exact trigger for that massive transformation. For a very long time, your ancestors in northern regions had a secret. They were not relying only on the weak sunlight for vitamin D. They were actually eating their nutrients. They ate plenty of wild fatty fish from cold waters. Salmon, herring and mackerel are excellent examples. These fish are among the densest natural sources of vitamin D on Earth. Your ancestors also consumed rich organ meats and animal fat regularly. Every single meal was quietly compensating for the dark skies. The weak northern sun was not enough, but their diet provided a perfect balance. This ancient diet worked well enough to keep families reproducing successfully. It was enough to hold the natural balance for a long time. Then a massive change arrived in the north. Agriculture spread across the land. People started growing wheat, barley and small lentils. These grain-based diets moved quickly across the continent. They systematically replaced the old ways of hunting and gathering food. The new farming lifestyle quickly displaced the fatty fish. It replaced the nutritious organ meats too. Those ancient foods had been protecting vitamin D levels for thousands of years. Old DNA studies document this major transition clearly. Scientists confirmed that the selection for lighter skin intensified suddenly. It matched the exact moment when grain-based agriculture became popular across the northern territories. The dietary shift happened meal by meal and season by season. The deep vitamin D crisis became very dangerous. Dark skin had been creating a quiet problem for years, but now it was critical. The human body had no nutritional buffer left to survive. Natural selection had to act quickly. It found the helpful gene variant already drifting at a very low frequency. The forces of nature drove that specific gene upward with incredible power. It was a rapid shift rarely recorded in human history. Lighter skin allowed more valuable sunlight to pass through the surface. This meant the body could create more vital vitamin D easily. More children began surviving their very first cold winters. Within a short time, the old dark populations transformed completely. This massive shift did not happen because the sun changed its position. It did not occur because the people migrated again. It happened because your ancestors changed their daily habits. They put down the wild salmon and picked up the heavy wheat. That single dietary switch rewrote the color of an entire region. Your modern body still does not understand this agricultural change. Your cells do not know about ancient monuments or old stone circles. They do not know about the first wheat fields spreading far and wide. Your body only understands the ancient mathematical calculation it inherited long ago. It wants to protect your folate levels. It needs to build strong bones. It must keep the next generation alive. That exact calculation is running inside you today. The system is working, whether you live in a bright city or a dark northern town. If you have dark skin and live far from the equator, take note. Your body is still trying to solve a major problem. It is a puzzle your ancestors never fully solved. If you have fair skin and stay indoors all day, something else is happening. You spend your days under modern artificial lights. Your body received the useful vitamin D upgrade long ago, but you lost the protective folate shield in the process. Your cells have no idea that this dangerous trade ever happened. Imagine placing an ancient dark-skinned hunter into a modern northern city. If they eat modern food, they will become deficient in one winter. The ancient hunter was perfectly calibrated for a world that no longer exists today. Now imagine putting a fair-skinned person back into the deep African sun. Without modern sun protection, their vital folate would start breaking down before lunchtime. Neither version of the human body is wrong. Both individuals are just running old biological software. It was written for a very different world. Your skin is not just a simple color. It is a living timestamp of human history. For an incredibly long time, dark skin held the defensive line perfectly. It protected vital folate during pregnancy. It guarded early mothers. It kept your entire lineage alive under a harsh sun. That same sun would have otherwise destroyed your family line generation by generation without mercy. Then a new diet of grain and bread changed everything. It quickly undone what took many thousands of years to build up. Your ancestors did not know the truth. They did not realize they were trading one survival system for another. They just ate what grew nearby in the dirt. Somewhere in that quiet exchange, the old ways were retired forever without anyone noticing. You are still paying the biological bill for that ancient dietary choice today. Every time you step outside, the old calculation continues automatically. Your skin interacts with the light based on decisions made long ago. The balance between nutrients and sunlight remains a delicate dance. We carry the history of the soil and the river inside our very cells every single day. This deep biological story shows how closely we are linked to nature. Every human feature tells a tale of survival against the odds. Our ancestors faced incredible choices just to stay alive. They had to adapt to changing environments and new food sources continuously. The color of your skin is a beautiful reminder of that journey. It shows how we survived the ancient past. Modern science helps us unlock these secrets hidden deep within our DNA. We can now read the blueprint of our own evolution clearly. It teaches us that human differences are just different ways of surviving. We all share the same basic needs for health and life. Understanding this connection can change how we view ourselves and each other in the modern world. Our current lifestyle is very different from the world of early humans. We live inside buildings and buy our food from big stores. Yet, our bodies still expect the old environment and natural diets. This creates a fascinating mismatch between our ancient genes and modern habits. Recognizing this balance can help us make better choices for our health and well-being today. So when you look in the mirror tomorrow morning, think again, see past the surface, and remember the long journey behind you. Your body is a living museum of ancient choices and adaptations. It carries the strength of survivors who walked across continents. You are the result of a grand calculation that worked. Celebrate that deep history written in your very skin.